Hi, it's Rick here from the Panther Jewelry School, and in this lesson we're going to be making this crossover band with an oval shaped gemstone and some stones that are sitting in a channel. Okay, let's get started. So open up a new template in Panther, and we're going to start off with a ring rail. So come over to the Rings tab, and down the bottom row there's ring rail. Click on that. Now I'm in Australia, so we use the UK region size. I'm just going to leave this set as it currently is. It's a N.5. It's about a 17.3mm diameter circle. So just in whichever region you are, just choose something either that's a similar diameter. And we're not going to change anything there, so we can just click the check mark to close out of that tool. Next we'll place a gemstone, so come to the gems section, and the first icon there is to place a gem, and this defaults to a brilliant cut stone, so we'll click the drop down menu and you'll see that quite a number of different cuts, also some more unusual cuts down here towards the bottom, but we'll choose an oval shaped stone here, and let's make it just a little smaller. The length, overall length of the stone is 4mm. Just drop that down 3.8mm. If you've got the gemstone in front of you, you can obviously enter a specific information for width and the overall height of the stone. We don't need to do that here, so we'll just click the OK button or the check mark there to close out of the gem tool. Now let's select that stone and we'll drag it up above the ring rail. It's easiest to probably do this in the front view, so down the tabs at the bottom of your screen, just click the front viewport and drag that up so that it's sitting maybe 2.5mm or so, 2.5mm above your ring rail. You can adjust this later, so there's no need to get this exactly right for the moment. Let's come back to our perspective view, and next we'll come over to the gems settings, and the first option there is a head. So this will load standard head layout, and I'll scroll in a bit here. Just to mention to you, there is a gallery with some preset styles, so you can select something from here and use that as a starting point. I'm not going to do that, just thought I'd quickly explain that to you. But let's come over here to prongs setting. I think that all looks okay. You can select to bend the prong tops, which is great for rendering, or you can switch that off, which will keep them straight, or bend them. Let's just change the cross-section or shape that's being used. So this is a squarish sort of cross-section shape. Let's come in here and change it to a round, so it's 0, 0, 0. And let's come over to the head settings here and adjust the overall depth. So this needs to be probably 2.5mm or so, in fact probably less. Oh, actually we'll leave it at that for the moment. A little less. Now you'll notice that there are two rails here. We're going to knock out one of those rails. We'll just have a single rail. So come to the gallery rails section, and there you can see there's a top rail and there's a bottom rail. So you can flip the switch off to switch the top rail off, and now we've only got a bottom rail here. Let's adjust the thickness. So this height refers to the vertical height. So if we increase that, we can make that thicker. A little more. 1.9mm. And you've got some thicknesses here, and you've also got inclination, which is the angle, if you like, that the cross section is rotated, so it's sort of like a little tapered, if you like. If that's set to 0, That will be more straight, sort of like a bearing if you like, directly underneath the stone, or with a slight inclination. Probably leave it like that. And that all looks okay. If we come over to the head options there is an option there called adapt to ring. So that will adapt to the ring gauge that you've got. So if we click that on, you'll see it's shortened that and it's adapted there to the ring rail. We'll just reduce the height of this, it's a bit too deep now. It's actually the gallery rail that we need to reduce the height of. 1.7 looks okay. Alright, that's it for the head settings. We can click the check mark to close out of that. And now what we'll do is create the ring band, and under rings you'll see in the second row there's a round bypass is what we're going to use. So click on that. And the top thickness is too high, so let's drop that down. Probably about 1.8 or 1.6. Probably okay. And let's adjust the rounded width here a little bit, and the rounded length a little bit. So you can see it's not touching the basket there. We can, if we want, adjust that rounded length to have that touching there, but you might end up with too much contact on some of the prongs. So if we adjust the rounded width, I can push that out a little wider. The end position is, if you like, where the cap ends, or the metal ends at the very end of each section. So my end positions, I've just adjusted a little bit. That looks okay. So if you want, you can copy the settings that I've got here. You can use the sliders, or you can actually type in numbers here. So either way is okay. The smooth cap just refers to the end of the bypass. So if you increase that, it gives you a bit more length there. Back will make it flat, totally flat. So we'll give this a bit of length here. I think that will do. Let's just check the bottom of the band. The top width is 1.8. That's fine. We might just make it a little wider. And then we can adjust this rounded length. Just make sure there's just a bit of contact with the bottom rail of your setting of the head. That looks okay. I'm just trying to minimize contact with this prong over here, because we are going to set some stones in a channel. I don't want that impinging too far into the metal where the channel's going to sit. So again, if you want, just copy my settings here. And the last thing we'll just check is the bottom thickness, the thickness at the bottom of the band. So that's done here through bottom controls. and the thickness is 2mm. Let's make that 1.8. Let's make the bottom width just a fraction wider. It's 3.3. So we'll have a bit of a taper going through to the bottom. Okay, that's it for the round bypass tool. So we'll click the check mark, the OK button, just to close out of that. Next, we're going to place some gems along a curve. So we'll come to the Gems tab and we'll use the Gems on Curve. Now, just one thing to explain here is that in some programs you actually need to extract a curve along the surface and then use that curve to place the stones. One nice thing in Panther is that it allows you to select a ring shank or a ring band, and typically assumes that you're wanting to place stones down the middle of the shank. So I'll show you how that works now. So click the Gems on Curve tool, and it's asking for what curve we want to place the stones along. So as I say, if I select the ring shank, it basically creates gems along that path. Now you'll see that they're not oriented to the shank, so I can click here where it says Object, and again I can orient them so that they're oriented to the surface that they're applied to. Okay. Now obviously these stones are going all the way around here, which I don't want. I just want sort of a few stones in the top section of our ring shank here. So I'll come under Options here, and you'll notice when you drag the start point, it distributes the stones evenly one side to the other. Now if I switch off the proportional option here, there's a slider that allows me to switch that off. You'll see what we can do if I move this back the other way, and I'll move this closer to the start point here of 1. You'll see now we've got some stones that start at this end, so that's the start point, and the end point is further down the shank. So if I move the start point a fraction more and adjust the end point, you'll see I get some more stones there. Now what we're going to do is create some stones that taper from small to larger, and we can come firstly under gem size here and set our starting stone size. Let's say we'll start with a 1.4mm stone, and if we come down here to end gem size, we can enable gradual sizes or graduations, and with graduations enabled we can set this first stone as a smaller one. Let's set it as a 1mm stone. So you'll see now they've adjusted to the new sizing. So they're graduating from a 1mm stone and getting larger back down to a 1.4mm stone. Now what we'll do is place a cutter to cut our channel. We'll place some prongs and we'll mirror all this on the other side. So we'll get to the other side in another step there. The only other thing to do is these stones are sitting aligned so that the table is aligned to, or I should say the girdle is aligned to the surface of the ring band. So if I come to Gem Options, under Gem Options is the option to set the gem placement. So I can place these so that they're sitting aligned to the table. And that's really it for that step. So I'm just going to click the check mark there to close out of this tool. Now we need to create a channel for the stones. So the stones, when you place them, they're groups. So if you click just somewhere near the edge of one of those stones, you'll see if you get them, they'll select. If not, it'll ask you for what you're selecting. So just select the group of stones, the group of gems there. And now we'll come to the cutters section here, and the second option there is a channel cutter. So click that to create a channel. Now we've got to make a few changes to this channel. So the first thing is its position. So let's just come to our front view, click on the front viewport, and let's go to our wire mode. Look, the stones do show up as black, so I know they're a little hard to see, but you can actually see the bottom of the cutter there. So let's just move that vertically. So we'll move it up, and I want it sitting somewhere near the girdle of the stones, maybe a fraction under that is okay. They can be set a bit lower if need be. Okay, the next thing is the cross-section that's being used. The default cross-section for the channel cutter is a sort of a V-shaped cut. So it's got straight walls at the side and it's got a sort of a V shape underneath. Let's change that. And I'm going to choose this one, 006. So again, straight walls, it's just a little curved in the bottom. And the position's still okay. I can leave that as it is. In fact, I might just move it down a fraction. That will do. And the next thing is, if you look, let's just go to our perspective view again. And what we want is, we want a sharp end at that end. We're going to put just a single prong and shared prongs on the rest of the stones. So come to the caps, that's the end of the channel cutter. So the end cap type, let's change this to sharp. See, that's changed there. And we can also set a distance for this end cap. Again, it might be best to go to the ghosted display mode so we can see this a bit better, but that looks okay. I might just leave it back where it was. So we're going to put a prong in, single prong in that spot, just there. We'll have shared prongs the rest of the way down. The other thing to check is just where the channel ends. So that's the start cap at this side. So if we reduce that down, we'll move that in a little bit tighter to the stone. I think that distance is okay. We can fine tune this. One of the nice things with Panther is that when we use their Boolean difference tool is we can actually come back and change some of these things later on, even after we've performed a Boolean. So you'll see that shortly. Let's click the check mark or the OK button. And now what we'll do is we'll mirror these to the other side. So select the stones and hold down Shift. You might have to change to the front view to do this, but just select the gemstones which are grouped, hold down Shift and select the cutter. We'll come back to our perspective view and we're going to use, under the tools menu, there is a mirror tool. So we'll choose mirror and we want to mirror diagonally, not horizontally. It will keep displaying that first mirror, but don't worry, if when you click OK here, it will disappear. Right, so we've got our stones and our channels mirrored. The next thing to do is to do a Boolean difference. So from the same tools menu, just deselect everything on your drawing, click the grid just to deselect everything. And we're going to use the Boolean difference. So click that. And it asks us for what the object A is and what the object B is. So object A is going to be the bypass ring. So click on that. And for object B, just click there and say you want to select them from the document. So click the little red arrowhead there and click on the two green cutters there. And once you've done that, press enter. So there we go, there's our boolean. Let's just switch back to the shaded display mode so you can see that channel a bit better. And now we've just got to place some prongs. So select the stones, come to gem settings, and the first item in the second row is called prongs row. Click that. Oh, we didn't finish that boolean command, so just say yes, you do want to validate the changes to close out of the boolean tool. And it's not placing the end prongs there. Okay, let's just hit X to cancel out of this. What we might just have to do is ungroup these stones, place the prongs just on one side and mirror those. So select the gemstones. Under addition, just come to ungroup, and they're now ungrouped. If you click on one, you'll see they're individual now. So hold the shift key and just click the stones on one side of the ring band there. And now let's come back to the gem settings and back to the second row there, the prongs row. That's better. Now just come to the ends option. We'll adjust some parameters to do with these prongs in a moment. Just come to the ends parameter and set a single prong at the end. Actually, sorry, it's going to be a single end prong here. Sorry, this one, wrong end. So you can put a single prong at either end if you want. So we want a single prong there. Just click on your grid just to deselect the stones. You'll find that easier to see what's going on here. And we're going to have to change the diameter of these prongs. So let's come to settings. Prong thickness, we'll make that 0.55. That's better. And that's pretty much it. I think the contact with the stones is okay. We've got a little bit of distance there, gap between the channel wall and the prongs, and I think that looks okay. If you need to, you can adjust this move horizontal, which will either push the prongs together or further apart. As I say, I think they're okay. I'll leave them at 0. Okay, let's click the check mark to close out of that. And let's mirror those prongs. So select the prongs, come to the tools option. The second option, or the second icon there in the first row, is mirror. Again, switch off mirror horizontal. I know they'll keep appearing for the moment. Just click mirror diagonal and click the check mark to close out of that tool. Now what I was saying before is that because we've used the Panther Boolean tool, it's dynamic. So if we come back into the channel cutter, for instance, you can see a list of all the commands, the dynamic commands that we've used here. If we come into the channel cutter, for instance, it allows us to edit that. So if I wanted to make some changes, let's say I wanted to make it, I don't know, a little bit wider, for instance. Lateral distance. You can see it updated. It's easy to see on this side. Let me spin this around. Lateral distance is 0.2. If I drop that back down, see how that's narrowed? So this is one of the great advantages of having these tools as dynamic. It allows us to actually go in afterwards and make some changes to our design. And if I wanted to, I could make it maybe a bit longer here. This end cap, let's come down to caps here, and this cap here, let's make that a bit longer, just to give us a bit of clearance there from that prong. Let's click the check mark or the OK button to close out. Okay, one last thing to do is just to create a seat for all of the gemstones. So let's just select, holding Shift, stones on one side of the band. Come back to cutters, and the first option there is gem cutter. Click on that. Click on your grid so you can see that clearer. And these cutters are cutting all the way through there. You can, or you don't have to, that's fine. But if you wanted to, let's just come to our front viewport, and what we're going to do is adjust the overall length. So if we come down to the stone seat depth, no, it's the azure. You can see that, well, there's a lot happening here, but it's the green one. And that's it. We can just click the OK button to close out of that. Let's come back to our perspective viewport. Let's mirror those on the other side. So select those cutters. We're going to Tools. In Tools we've got Mirror. Again, for the moment it's displaying this sort of mirrored copy, but it won't place those. Just select Mirror Diagonal and click the check mark to close out of that. So now if we do a Boolean difference, again we'll use the Panther Boolean difference here, which is in our Tools menu here. Again, it's going to ask us what we're subtracting from, so let's select the ring shank, press enter. It's asking us for the other objects, so here where it says object B, we're going to select from the document, which is this big red arrow, and click on each of the cutters there. Press enter. So that's it. If you select one of those stones and just type hide from your keyboard, you'll see you've got a little seat there for it. Okay, I'll just type show. Okay, if you go to your rendered view, you'll get a preview of that. Let's just change the ring band to metal, yellow, a white metal color here. Come to the Panther Materials tab. It looks like a little gold sphere there. And here, if you select metal, we can select the ring. We can apply, let's say, white gold 18 karat there. Just double click on that. Actually, we'll do 14 karat. Okay, that's it. Just have a play around with that and follow those steps a couple of times to see if you can recreate that, following along with the video here. And we'll see you in the next lesson. Okay, bye for now.